this morning with Jennifer. She's a senior mortgage advisor with RBC. Hi, Jennifer.
Good morning.
So I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about your background and typically
Absolutely.
what you do with RBC.
So, as a mortgage specialist with RBC, my goal is to help people achieve home ownership or after home ownership to look at either moving up or to make their financial situation better by looking at how do we use the home for debt consolidation and things like that. So I've been at RBC for 7 years and in the business for a little bit longer than that. And my background is also I'm a real estate law clerk by trade. I have that from when I worked in title insurance back in the day. So I've got a different range of experience around the legal side as well, which kind of helps to guide clients in their home path.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You've got like a great varied background there, all basically to do with real estate. So
absolutely. I love real estate.
any clients. Oh,
Yeah.
don't we all?
Yes, we do.
We have a passion for that too.
Absolutely.
So today I just wanted to chat a little bit about what we've now coined the phrase, the bank of mom and dad, because during our recent office meeting last week, Conrad, our broker of record, had mentioned some facts and figures that he'd come across to the effect that, 30% of first-time home buyers are receiving help with their down payment from the bank of mom and dad. And in fact, in the Toronto area alone, like it's amounts of $130,000. Like that's quite significant for parents to be able to lend to their kids. And in some cases, if the kids are in a move up phase, that figure rises to 200,000. So how are the parents on average, able to structure things with their finances so that they can help their kids?
So in a lot of situations, Patricia, like we look at the parents and we kind of guide them based on their financial picture. So it's not a cookie cutter type of answer. It's more of each individual case is going to be customized. So when I meet with the buyers and they indicate that their parents are going to be helping them, I usually then set up a next meeting with either the buyers and the parents together or the parents alone, because there's options for the parents. And in some situations, those parents are assisting by not only gifting funds, but also co-signing on the transaction. And so we want to ensure that if that's the situation, that we're talking about the impact on the parents. So not just how they're going to help the kids, but their long-term financial plan as well. So if they're going on the title to the property as co-owners, what's the capital gain going to be in the future? Or what other options do they have to explore that they can help them by co-signing and not be on title, which is something that RBC allows. So that's one option we talk about. But when we start to talk to how do we gift funds if they're not required to co-sign, then it's a matter of understanding, is it going to come from investments or cash in account, or is there a way to use the equity in their home to be able to use those funds for the client or for the buyer, for their children?
Right. Yeah.
And that gets into a more in-depth conversation about what does that look like and how much equity do they have available? Because as you know, the value of homes have gone up significantly and people are sitting on a significant amount of equity. Unfortunately, though, the only way you can get that equity out is to borrow it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But the rates are so low right now that, I mean, doesn't it make sense? And like we were talking about earlier, Jennifer, I think our generation, we have a different mindset whereby because of the property prices, we really want to be able to unlock what investments or equity we have in our homes to be able to help our kids.
Absolutely, because it's like, we talked about earlier, it's a living will type of situation. So why wait until you pass to help your children when you can see them at the stage they need it the most, see the impact that your savings can have on them. And, if you're not in the situation where you can pull from investments, because let's be honest here, there's tax implications for the parents if they pull from, registered investments like RSPs.
Sure.
You don't want to go down that path because it's actually going to hinder your future more than it would help. So if we're using equity, we can look at borrowing that, whether it is by way of a mortgage segment on a house, or even just using a line of credit against the property to be able to pull those funds out and gift that to the children. And then there's an ongoing payment that goes towards it instead of pulling and paying a significant amount of tax on the investment side. So those are really great strategies, in pulling out equity of the home. And one question I get commonly is, well, especially if parents are a little older, I'm retired. I don't have the income to be able to support a potential line of credit or mortgage on my property.
Right, to service the debt, basically.
Exactly. But I have investments, so I have to pull from my investments in order to do this. Well, RBC has a program that is called our Wealth Management Program, and that wealth program allows us to not take the investment, but if you have the investment and you have the equity, we can pull out, as long as it's no more than 1-to-1, we can pull that equity out and you can still qualify for a transaction. So that's why I always recommend we look at and have that conversation with the parents to see what's going to be the best for your financial plan, not just what's the quickest, easiest way to give the money to my children.
Yes. And I think that's the difference between getting the advice from like a specialist such as yourself, compared to walking into the branch, which, I personally have done once upon a time. Fortunately, I'm a bit more savvy now, but getting that advice, because typically the layperson would just walk into the bank and say, I need a line of credit.
Exactly. And the branch may just say, oh, okay, I'm trying to fulfill your need. So yes, I'll give you that line of credit. But we need to think a little bit through it because, again, tax implications. Yeah, like the tax implications, long-term capital gain situation, if you're going on a cosign route, or even just the fact that, how is it going to impact your ability to retire if you're not retired yet? Or in retirement, what does your cash flow look like on a monthly basis if you're going to go that path? So it's got to be the right solution for everybody involved. And what I'm finding in talking to parents, because again, they're sitting on a lot of equity, is the solution tends to be different for everyone, but it tends to be in a lot of situations where they end up pulling from their equity and not using investments for the short term, and then coming up with a plan to how to repay that over time so that their kids can benefit.
Yes, no, that makes sense, because having personally pulled at one point from investments, it's the tax implication is horrible. It's horrible. I would never recommend anybody to do that. So I totally get the advice that you're giving and appreciate that. But,
and a lot of times too, what we're talking through, because I've had parents that I've spoken to just even recently where they're assisting their children, they're gifting some funds. And one of the people that we engaged as part of the conversation was their accountant, because it's an important decision, especially when it's, okay, well, I think I want to pull from here, but I think I want to do this, and I think I want to do that. Well, their accountant knows their finances better than anyone else. The other person that we tend to engage is a lawyer. So, because there is situations as well, and, being completely transparent, every situation different, but what if it is they're gifting to a child and a common law
Yes.
like a future
That's
common
correct.
law individual instead of
Yes.
a married individual. So there's different ways of looking at that because we want to, as parents, protect our children. So if you're going to gift $200,000, what happens in the event that that relationship does not continue? So we want to also ensure that we're thinking through how do we protect the child and the parents in the event of a breakup. So a lawyer is a great person to consult as well as to, how do we look at that and ensure that everybody feels comfortable and has an open conversation at the time they should be having it.
No, absolutely. And just to what you're saying, Jennifer, I
Mhm.
reached out to Alana Stevens,
Yes.
Escarpment Law, and I'm actually going to be doing a Zoom chat with her in a week or so, just about the legal implications, because
Mhm.
as you so succinctly put it,
Mhm.
we want to help our kids, but we're also
Mhm.
very much aware of, because of the laws of the land, if
Mhm.
they do end up in a relationship and they're living together in the property that you've
Mhm.
helped to them to purchase, you do
Mhm.
want to protect your interests, and of course the interests of your child are first and
Absolutely.
foremost as a
Yeah.
parent.
And Alana's a fantastic resource for that.
Yes.
She's seen this situation more than once, I can say.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that would be my
Mhm.
understanding too. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to chatting with her as well.
Mhm.
But I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you taking the time this morning, Jennifer. It's been really informative. And I'd urge any of our clients or anybody who's tuning in to definitely reach out. And we're happy to share your contact information. And yeah, let's chat again soon and come up with some great new topics.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you for having me this morning. It's been a pleasure.
I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Thanks.